Oh, that's a fish, dude. How's it going, guys? Travis from Tackle Bros. Today we're going to break down 3 of my most favorite techniques for early season smallmouth. So when the water's really cold, you know, high 30s, low 40s, these are going to be the 3 things that I go to. So first thing I'm going to start with is going to be the slowest technique and the one I can generally pick up the most information from, and that is going to be the old school tube. So this is a set the hook net bait, 2.5 inch tube. I think the color on this guy is brown pumpkin copper. So this is a dope one. The other one that I've been using a lot lately is going to be the all new Juvie Craw from Great Lakes Finesse. So this is a dope, you know, real life craw imitator, and it definitely catches them. So the reason why I generally start with the tube, I can pick up the most amount of information without using my graphs, without using anything about what the bottom's doing. Generally in the early season, that's when the weeds are down, there's less scum and algae on the bottom. I can throw a tube and I can really find, you know, the mud lines, the rock lines where, you know, the grass might start growing. I can bump rock, and I can pick up a lot of information that, you know, if I don't have my graphs on, I can pretty much relate the same amount of information to myself without looking down the graph. The great thing about throwing a tube to start is bottom contact. So that's gonna send back to you a ton of data about, you know, the type of bottom you're fishing, whether it be rock, whether it be sand, gravel, you know, shell bed, into the mud lines, whatever it may be. The tube, if you've used it enough, it can work as, you know, almost like a 2D sonar, so you can have some bottom information coming back to you. 99.9% of the time, I use the mini tube head from Great Lakes Finesse. So this little guy here. The reason why I love this tube head is the shape of the head. It actually allows it to come up over cover through rock a lot easier. You snag up less, you lose less hooks, and you have to retie less. If you've ever fished a ton of tubes, you know how much of a pain in the ass it is constantly retying these. You can't just thread the plastic back on. It has to go on first before you tie. It's a whole thing. So I like this one because I have to retie less, and it also gets snagged a lot less. The next thing that I like about this is the hook. So this is a little bit of a stouter hook for a mini tube. The hook penetration is amazing. I don't lose many fish, if any, on this guy. So this is my favorite tube hook for the mini tubes, you know, the 2.5, 2.75 inch, and then specifically in a 3/8 ounces where I always start. You can go up and down from there, but 3/8, I can always get good bottom contact no matter what really the depth is. I mean, if I'm fishing at 40 feet, I'm probably not throwing a tube anyways. Which ones do I use? So generally, I will start with I like the Max Scent tube. That's my personal favorite. I like the Gobi color. I'm being 100% honest with you. This is a dope tube. I think the reason why this tube works so well for me has nothing to do with Max Scent. These are annoyingly soft. If you get around any type of bait fish, you'll be retying one every other cast, but it is extremely matte finished. And that is something that's important to me when I'm fishing, especially for smallmouth. They're not stupid. They know that these craws on the bottom, they're not shining, having light reflecting off of them. And I think that's been the key to this bait being successful for me for so long. Now, enter in the Great Lakes Finesse tubes. So these are now a matte tube. They have no scent. I'm not a huge scent guy. I mean, I've bought the bait fuel like everybody else did. I maybe have put it on 2 times. If it works for you, it works for you. It doesn't really do much for me. This is just a salted, matte, plain colors, nothing shiny, little craw imitator. So yeah, this is just gonna be a different look for them. This is, again, another matte one. So if I had to only pick 2, I would pick the Berkeley one and I would pick the Great Lakes Finesse one right now. Those are my 2 favorite, just because they're matte. I like matte. The other good ones, which are great fish catchers, and if you're a scent guy, you're really gonna like the Set the Hook ones because these are already infused with bait fuel. If I could only have one color in these guys, I probably couldn't only have one color. One's gonna be burnt pumpkin copper. So this guy right here, a little bit, basically green pumpkin with copper fleck in it. That's a really dope one. And the other one I'll go to when I would say, when the water's on a little bit more clear side, will be the dark melon gold purple. So I've said it a million times. I love anything gold. I love anything purple. I always have a couple packs of these in the boat just for situational. You're pretty much always gonna go with anything like dark brown, dark green pumpkin, stuff like that are gonna be the key ones. One special one that I always carry in the boat, this is a super situational one for me, but this has actually caught me a ton of big fish when they wouldn't bite anything else. That's gonna be this guy right here. And this is gonna be Touchdown from X Zone. So this has a pearl belly on it. It's a green pumpkin, gold and purple again. But sometimes, for whatever reason, if I have this pearl belly on it, I can pick up an extra fish or two, and they're generally the big ones. So I always keep a pack of Touchdown in my boat, a couple packs, and it's an amazing one when they're not eating the other colors. So for my setups for tube fishing, I have two specifically. I have one that's my workhorse and one that I have as a backup when I don't want to retie. They both work excellent, but the one that is my workhorse, the one that I probably couldn't live without, is going to be an NRX Plus 852S JWR. So this is a 7.1 medium extra fast power. My hookup ratio on this is amazing. I don't lose fish. I've used this for many years now and always had great success. I have no plans on changing it. If you have a 7-foot medium fast rod in spinning, you're probably gonna be okay. You don't have to run out and buy an NRX tomorrow, but this is a really dope one if you just wanna have like the end all be all, do everything kind of. This is a great rod for a bunch of stuff, but specifically tubing for me, that lives on this year round. I throw it on Nexence. You'll notice with me a lot, every single reel I have is an Nexence. It's the best reel in the world. I'll argue with anybody. I'll put it up against any reel. It's my favorite of all time, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I have it with 13-pound braid. This is the Fire, and then I'm going to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. So that's my setup for my A1 tube setup. And then my B tube setup, just due to the versatility of this rod, is kind of where it came in, and it kind of came in when I was fishing with a buddy, and he didn't have a tube rod. So this is going to be the Windbuster from in the Destroyer series lineup. Same 3/8 ounce head, everything like that. Same Xsense reel. Again, you're gonna see a ton of these. This rod it blows my mind every time I try to throw something on it and it does it. The Windbuster may be the most versatile spinning rod ever made. It does everything amazingly. I think like the lure rating on this is 1/4 ounce to 5/8 ounce. That's crazy on a spinning reel. So I'll just spec the Windbuster out for you. So it's an F3.5, 7'2" rod. So F3.5 is like a medium. They're amazing rods. If I could only have two, those would be the two. Like I said, there's a bunch of other amazing rods. Anything in that 7'1" to 7'3" medium, fast to extra fast, is gonna work great for those little 2.5-inch tubes. And don't be afraid to downsize or upsize. If you wanna throw a 3.5-inch, 3.75-inch tube, those are gonna work great. But for me, right now, the 2.5-inch or the Juvie Craw or anything in that little size, that's what I'm throwing. Then from there, once I've beaten them up on the tube a little bit, I'm going to look for something a little bit quicker moving, something I can cover a little bit more water with, something I can still pitch, move around, and that is going to be the Megabass Dark Sleeper. This color is Donko. This is in a 3/8 ounce. This is probably my go-to color all the time. I throw this on a couple different rods actually, because if you're on a dark sleeper bite, you'll know you want to have a couple different colors going at all times. I usually like this one. I like the Wagasagi. I like Dark Shad as well. So Wagasagi, Dark Shad, and Donko are my three go-tos. I am going to throw this on an 853 JWR. So that's going to be a 7'1", extra fast jig rod. The Dark Sleeper is a jig. It's a swim bait, yes, but if you really look at how this thing is designed, it is an amazing like flipping jig in a swim bait body. I treat it as a jig first, so this is what I'm going to throw at rocks specifically. This is what I'm going to throw specifically at targeted fish. It's also amazing for covering water because of the body style. So it's also a great swim bait. I use three colors. For me personally, these three are my favorites, and I almost always throw a 3/8. I will sometimes go up to a 1/2 ounce, but the 3-inch 3/8 is my go-to. So I will throw Donko, which is that guy that I just showed you. I'll throw this guy. This is Dark Shad. I've caught so many fish on this thing. I have a ton of confidence in it. And then the other one is gonna be Wagasagi. So those are my three go-to colors. The great thing about the Dark Sleeper is it's kind of a hybrid. You can, fish it really slow and methodical, or you can swim it like a swim bait. If they're starting to chase a little bit, this is a great one because, you can kind of feel out what the fish are doing at that time. If they're, still being a little bit lazy and you got to slow it down, the Dark Sleeper is amazing at it. If they want to chase a little bit and you got to speed it up, the Dark Sleeper is amazing at it. So it covers a lot of ground. It does a lot of things. It's a really unique bait. It's one of the most popular baits in the store, and it's one of the most versatile baits in the store. So Dark Sleeper is my number 2 thing that I'm going to when I switch to this. So I have 2 different setups. I have a braid to leader setup, and then I have a straight fluorocarbon leader. On the fluorocarbon, I use 14-pound fluorocarbon. I use shooter, Sunline shooter. And then on my braid to leader, I use 30-pound, generally Power Pro, and I'll tie that to 12, 14, or 16, depending on how heavy the cover is, depending on how aggressive they are, line shy, etc. But I always start with this guy. It's just, I like it on the fluorocarbon. If you have a 7.2 medium heavy rod, medium heavy fast, you're gonna be fine. Obviously the Dark Sleeper is gonna be amazing at it. That NRX is going to be amazing at it. The bottom contact rod from in the Steez lineup is amazing at it. So there's a lot of different options for this rod. If you have a jig rod, again, that short to medium 7-foot range, you have a Dark Sleeper rod. So check that one out. My third technique is going to be the underspin. So this one right here is going to be the Raid Libero. My other favorite one is going to be the sneaky underspin from Great Lakes Finesse. So that's this little guy. So I'll do the Libero first. I'll do the rod first that I like to throw the Libero on. The Libero specifically, I throw on a 902. I like the 5 and the 7 gram. I'll periodically go up to the 10 gram. So these come pre-rigged with plastics. The plastic's great. When it wears out, I just go to a K-Tech. So this is a 2.8 inch fat swing impact. I like this one when I'm more slow rolling, touching bottom here and there, or ultra fast burning. So the great thing about this guy is that it doesn't roll over ever. It's really unique to find that. It has this really fat head, so it's great at making bottom contact, and the blade is on a double barrel, so it can kind of just do what it wants. It's not, sticking down like some of the other ones, and that's generally when I use this. I throw it on the 902, like I said, with 13-pound Defire to a 7-pound leader. So that's the Libero. And then my other favorite one, that's gonna be the sneaky underspin from Great Lakes Finesse. I generally use either a Versa pintail or I'll use their own drop minnow. So this one has that wire that comes down to push the blade down. The blade's a little bit bigger, a little bit of a louder thump. This is my favorite mid-column one. So if I'm just literally covering water and I'm just chucking and winding, I generally go to this. It's available 3/16, 5/16, and 3/8. Bunch of cool colors. These guys come 1 to a pack. Liberos come 2 to a pack. And if you get the 5 and the 7, they have an extra set of plastic with them. For this one, I actually go down in size on everything. I will use the 11-pound Defire, and I will use 5 or 6-pound braid to leader. So all my reels are always gonna be Accents. It's my favorite reel of all time. But the rod I use is the Felissa. So this is an f2.5, this is a 7.6, basically medium light rod. If you know NRX codes, this is like a 901.5. Really dope, versatile rod. I also throw spy baits on this. I throw swim baits, little 2.8 inch K-Techs. This rod does a million things for me. If I can only have one out of the whole lineup, it's this one. Those are the 2 underspins that I generally go with 100% of the time. So I guess not generally, those are the ones that I always go with. By the way, I should have mentioned this at the start. So this is our boat shop. We rig boats down here. My Vexus lives down here all the time. We hang out down here tying rods. This is where we get ready in the mornings before we go film. So this is just kind of like our home base away from the store. We're gonna film a bunch of videos down here because we just like hanging out down here. Like I said, everybody's rods are down here between Ashton, Johnny, myself. All of our tackle is all on these walls and hung up on the rafters and stuff like that. So this is just one of the spots we like to hang out, and I figured this would be a cool spot for us to film some stuff like this. We'll bounce back between this and the shop. So if you need rod recommendations for any of these techniques, if you like a specific lineup or a specific brand, let me know. Message me on my Instagram, message Ashley on his Instagram, message the store Instagram, give us a phone call. There's a million ways to get a hold of us. We can walk you through that. We should have a big restock on Great Lakes Finesse coming up. And yeah, thank you for hanging out with us on our first, breakdown video. We're gonna do these every Monday now. So we're gonna do 2 videos a week, and it's been great hanging out with you guys. Thanks.